Many women have hormonal alterations due to stress. In the end, when we have very high cortisol levels, I am talking about sustained stress over time, which is the most common in today's society due to the pace we live at. That cortisol starts to cause alterations in the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal and gonadal axis. And there are women who, during very high stress periods afterwards, they have ovulation problems. Well, this also generates greater systemic inflammation, lowers our immunity, so that aspect of stress is very important to keep in mind. And, well, when we prepare to conceive, although it is sometimes difficult, we need to pay attention to the lifestyle we are leading, whether it is appropriate and if it allows us to take care of ourselves, right? Because another aspect is poor nutrition, which we will get into later. As a nutritionist, what I mainly do is dietary and nutritional guidance. But then poor nutrition, for example, a diet very high in ultra-processed foods and ready-made meals also contains many chemicals, synthetic substances that can directly affect our hormones. Pollution, apart from environmental pollution, which we know is there, for example, who live in Madrid in a city, logically we are in polluted environments and we have to help our body eliminate these toxins properly. But also in our food, in all that ultra-processed food. For example, wrapped in plastics, it contains substances like bisphenol A, which can also alter our hormones, and it also acts on estrogen receptors. So, in the end, well, there is not just one cause of fertility problems in society, but in my view, a global study of the woman is needed, of her lifestyle, not just a blood test to analyze her biochemical state, but also her way of life and prepare her so that her body is in an optimal state, hormonal, psychological, biochemical, and helps improve her fertility. Nutrition is lifestyle in its entirety. If I live very stressed, I won't have time to take care of what I eat. So if I'm not aware of environmental pollution, I won't think about going to the supermarket to buy fresh organic vegetables instead of those that come in plastic. So we need to create that global awareness, those points before starting to say, okay, and what do I have to eat? But that awareness of taking care of yourself, well, the issue of environmental degradation, the feeling or having older ones is often influenced by social circumstances that condition us. Yes, but well, a 35-year-old woman, I am 35 years old now, so I am the first to be at this age, a 35-year-old woman who takes good care of herself, who is aware of all this. Well, in the end, she will likely have a better ovarian reserve and everything will go better, right? So, well, the first thing, when speaking of that awareness that needs to be generated when we want to follow an anti-inflammatory diet, we must eliminate toxic habits. I always say, the first thing is to know what needs to be removed in our daily lives. And then we should set that aside and focus on what is most important, which is being well nourished and what we do eat. Taking care of oneself is not just about stopping eating things that are not good, as we sometimes have that concept a bit wrong. We say, no, if I don't consume sugar, if I don't consume refined flour, if I don't. Yes, but then are you really taking antioxidants, omega-3, what you need, right? But well, I always start with what needs to be removed. Logically, if a woman smokes, the first thing she needs to remove is tobacco, alcohol, all those toxic habits, the consumption of ultra-processed foods, okay? One thing is that also, as I want to be practical, trying to be practical, one thing is a healthy processed food. I don't know, for example, if I buy a legume that is already cooked in water, that is a healthy processed food that doesn't contain anything else. Sometimes suddenly we want to remove ultra-processed foods and we start to become afraid of everything that is already prepared. The best thing is to prepare it ourselves. But there are things that can be healthy. What we need to learn is to read labels and ensure that those products don't have a lot of unknown ingredients for us. And ideally, that they are not packaged in plastic. Better if they are in glass jars, okay? So, eliminating ultra-processed foods, tobacco, alcohol, and sugar is essential, especially during pregnancy. Later, we will talk about the importance of sugar, the predisposition to gestational diabetes, but also when we are trying to conceive. If we have insulin resistance, if we are overweight, if we are consuming a lot of sugars, we are also inflamed. That predisposes us to inflammation, alters our gut microbiota, so we also need to control the consumption of sweets. and to be active and avoid a sedentary lifestyle, which is another toxic habit, being inactive all day. Being still and not moving, okay? So all of that is going to help us. That's one side, right? And once we say, okay, I move, I don't consume sugar, I don't eat ultra processed foods, I don't smoke, and I don't drink, what should I eat? What is it that I should eat, right? Another factor that I haven't mentioned before, and that is very important, and we see a lot in consultations, is that women need not only to consume fat, because our hormones are fats, meaning we need an optimal intake, but we also need to have a fat reserve. To have hormonal balance, there can often be hypothalamic amenorrhea, meaning we lose our menstruation due to low weight, okay? This is another problem that we see a lot in athletes or in people who eat very unbalanced diets, who are very stressed and who do not eat well. I'm not talking about eating disorders. I'm saying that sometimes we don't eat well, we lose an excessive amount of weight, and we directly stop producing hormones, okay? We need to have a fat reserve. We need to consume fats, meaning that fat is essential, okay? Weight is important. Both low weight and excess weight will cause problems when trying to conceive. Okay? So controlling weight is also another very important factor to consider in a woman, okay? So we have talked about an optimal consumption of antioxidants, properly detoxifying, helping our body eliminate toxins. Consuming omega-3, avoiding those sugars is essential, and then being well nourished. In the end, there should be a supply. Now, if you want, we can talk about nutrients that are fundamental for fertility, but we must not lack them. When we talk about nutrients, it's not just about taking proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. We also need to ensure we have minerals, amino acids, essential nutrients, or fatty acids that are basic for conception. Thank you. And then within the anti-inflammatory context of a strict diet, okay, we need to pay attention to the microbiota, okay? It is important. We can talk about it now or during pregnancy, but the microbiota is essential. We need to have good cardiovascular health, which is basic, and metabolic health, okay? So we should always do blood tests and maintain a good hormonal balance if there are hormonal imbalances. Whether it is polycystic ovary syndrome, amenorrhea, or dysmenorrhea, the problem is that nowadays you go to a gynecologist, they do hormonal blood tests, and they tell you everything is fine and your hormonal imbalances are either managed with a pill or we can't control them, right? And that is not the case. We need to know that all these hormonal alterations are closely related to inflammation and sometimes to hyperestrogenism. An excess of estrogens, sometimes with an excess of testosterone, along with insulin resistance. In other words, hormonal alterations are also addressed through lifestyle, okay? Not only that, that would be another conference, another live session, but they are not just treated with a contraceptive pill. Instead, it simply acts as a patch because when we take a pill, we do not ovulate, and we need to address them through taking care of our health and managing stress. Let's see. During pregnancy, really? If one indeed attends to all these aspects, even when not pregnant, it is very comparable. In other words, the foundations we have established with an anti-inflammatory diet must be maintained during pregnancy, okay? What happens is that, well, there are aspects that we know help that are going to help. For example, I have already mentioned several times the topic of the microbiota, okay? Our intestine, our digestive system. We know that additionally, one of the most recurrent symptoms in pregnant women, the most common, is digestive alterations. Suddenly constipation, nausea, vomiting, having digestive discomfort, and that often prevents us from following a healthy diet because it changes our cravings, and then logically, if I have nausea and vomiting, I end up eating what I think feels good and not really what I need. I eat more by intuition, but not by following a good plan, and for that, we need to protect the digestive system. The digestive system is a complex organ that we know is covered with bacteria, which are our microbiota, and that can be affected. Something interesting before getting pregnant is to have a microbiota study, take probiotics, and during pregnancy as well. I recommend that one goes into pregnancy with a good intestinal rhythm. Then, during pregnancy, you cannot take a lot of things. You can take a good probiotic, but you cannot take a series of other supplements. So, before getting pregnant, if you have worked on your intestinal permeability, the mucosa, etc. Things, if you have worked on your microbiota, if you go with an optimal intestinal rhythm, okay. You adopt good habits to go to the bathroom well or regulate it, okay. With habits and supplementation, okay. Well, That will help you a lot so that later during pregnancy, you don't have all these problems, okay? But for me, for example, a basic supplement during pregnancy is taking probiotics. For example, also, taking care of the microbiota will help us ensure that the vaginal microbiota is healthy. The vaginal microbiota mainly consists of lactobacillus, and we can supplement it, which will help keep that microbiota strong. And fertility will also help the endometrium be better for the implantation of the egg. And then, for example, consuming bifidobacteria has also been studied to help improve our metabolic health during pregnancy to avoid excess weight. No, the thing is growing, and there is good health, avoiding insulin resistance, hypertension, etc. So, eating, as we have said, the issue of the microbiota during pregnancy, it's not that we have to eat double. Not at all. We don't have to eat for two. I will tell you that I haven't practically changed the amount I eat, but we do need to be more organized. Well, I used to do a lot of fasting and ate 3 times a day. And now we have to listen to the body. I'm not saying that there are women who can't have 3 meals, but for example, for me, if I'm in a consultation in the afternoon, I have to have some nuts because my blood pressure is low and it helps me to have some intake, right? So we need to consume. We need to have smaller intakes sometimes. Also, if your tolerance is lower, and eat very nutritious foods, seek quality foods. Okay. Avoid a bit what we have already mentioned, sugars, refined flour. One can have a day when they crave a sweet, but have a good sweet, have dark chocolate, have something made with fruit, have quality that you know provides you with nutrients. Okay?